Started a fast yesterday. And so if you want to fast with me, you can go ahead and start now. When I say fasting, I mean really fasting. I don't do the one meal a day stuff, although I might do that in the future sometime. I'm actually fasting, like not eating, only uh, water and coffee, no milk, no sugar, no nothing. Vitamins, I'll take vitamins, but nothing caloric whatsoever. And I'll do it for until I'm finished. The longest I've ever gone fasting was 20 days with zero food. 10 days is easy. You can do that. That's like a joke. But let's see how long I want to go. If you want to fast with me, get started. Soda water's okay. Get started. All right. I drink all kinds of different soda water. There's one, the Rock, whatever it's called. Anyway, let's get started. And I will take questions. Please share this out, and then we'll talk about a few things first. Most of what I'm going to say will just be like the first 10 minutes. Hello in New York, Megan, and New Hampshire, Barbara, and hello, Mark, wherever you're at. And hello, SB. Thank you for the support, SB. And thank you, everybody else who supported my work by Patreon or PayPal, Venmo, Zelle, my Japanese or Thai bank accounts. I just hugely appreciate it. Hello, Needy in Arizona. And Jenna, happy Plague Day down in Australia. I guess you're in Canberra. We've been building a lot of Lego sets. I'll bet you have. Interesting. Lego's an interesting story. I've read about the history of those. Very interesting story. You might want to read up on that. Hey, Mike Morgan. All right. Hello, David in Utah. Good to see you back. And Kenneth, let's get started. Hey, Sherry in Arizona. Let's get started up in BC. All right. Y'all ready? All right. I just got a message, or a series of messages just came in from a friend who has spent a lot of time in China. And let me take these off. I don't need these. Can you hear me well? If you can hear me loud and clear, then you don't need those. I'll actually crank that up slightly. And hello, Zane Khan in Sydney and Barbara. All right, let's get rolling. Hello, Naomi in Israel. By the way, one of my Israeli friends, I was just chatting with him tonight. I almost brought him on tonight, but maybe Igal's watching. Igal Zur, you know Igal, famous author in Israel? He's a friend of mine. Anyway, Igal, we got to know each other in India years ago, and I asked Igal earlier tonight if he wanted to come on, and he said yes. So maybe tomorrow Igal will be on. You might know Igal. Let's get started. But I got these messages just as I was coming on. This is from China. My friend is American, but he's got a lot of friends. He spent years in China. He's saying, this is a message about China. Many foreigners, mostly African, being evicted from their apartments in Guangzhou, put out on the street without recourse. That was from yesterday. And he said some Europeans also. Well, very interesting. Just a few other things. A lot of videos are circulating around about that. And then he says, Chinese generally dislike Africans and many other dark-complected people. Oh, yeah, I've been to China quite a few times. That's true from my experience. Yeah. Wow, China. Yeah, China. The Chinese Communist Party always claims racism, but let me tell you what, you haven't seen racism until you've seen China Nazis in action. All right. Let's get started in talking about a few other things. Many interesting things going on. I'm very interested in what's going to happen with the mainstream media. For years, mainstream media has been suffering anyway, and for various reasons. One is just massive credibility loss, and and loss of revenue, of course. And then, of course, every minute you spend with someone like me, then you're not spending somewhere else, like at CNN or whatever. And so that's very costly for them because those minutes cost them a lot of money. I mean, 1 minute that you spend with me instead of with them is very costly for them, actually. So that adds up. But now, people in business know every time there's an economic downturn, one of the first things that people stop spending on, companies stop spending on, is advertisement. And so obviously, these big media companies generally run heavily on advertisement. What are they going to do when the car companies stop advertising, when the boutique clothing and that sort of thing stop stop advertising? How many of these newspapers are going to just go out of business? I mean, will New York Times and Washington Post and others be with us next year? I don't know. I mean, of course, it can shake up the whole market and many can decline and then a few will survive, probably. It's my guess. But my guess is they're going to be going out of business very soon. Probably already are. Well, they have been for years. I'm fasting. I'm fast. I drink a lot more water, by the way. I always drink a lot of water. Boris Yeltsin's still alive out there. Good. The Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, he taunted the virus. He joked around about it, shaking hands in a hospital. A doctor that warned him about PPE, masks and gloves and whatnot, is now passed away. Rest in peace. A doctor in the UK has passed away. He was one of the doctors warning Boris about this, and then Boris was making fun of him, making fun of the virus, not the doctor. And so, yeah, very interesting. Let's talk about a few other things, and I'm just going to get straight to questions. But I want to mention a few things first. One is, let's see if you can see this map. Did it pop up on your screen? If it did, you can see how the cases are going. We won't need to go through all that because this is widely available and you can see it yourself. And I'm just checking another screen here to see if you can actually see that. And yes, you can. Well, maybe you can't. All right. And, well, let's see. It doesn't, I'm not sure if, well, it's obviously live because I see people making questions. Hey, Barbara, I hope everything's well. And hello in Fairfield. Can you see the screen here of the Johns Hopkins map? I don't see it on my other screen. I hope it's feeding out to you. It should be. Maybe it's not. Hello. Okay, you see it, Mike Morgan. Great. It's not showing up on my other screen over here. Right, so I'm not going to go over that screen very much because you can see it yourself. You can go online and look at it. And you can see the numbers are going up. Just remember, just a month or 2 months ago, if you would have told people 2 months ago that this number, when did this even start? But when this first started, it was just a few cases and people are like, it's just the flu. Somebody was saying, just comparing it to the flu on my own page today. And I put up the cuckoo song video. I mean, anybody that thinks it's just the flu now or comparable to the flu is cuckoo bird level stuff. And so let's talk about a few other things here. Now you can see these, the spread is enormous, but we haven't really done a lockdown in the United States. I mean, look at this. Look at these domestic flights galore and international. You can click on this, by the way, and see which actual flight. JAL must be Japanese. NCA, there's KAL, that's Korean. I don't know, which of these are actually cargo aircraft. EVA, there we go. Let's click on it. Here we go. There's EVA. And here it is from Taipei to Los Angeles. And you can see the time here on the left-hand side. You should be able to see it's a Boeing 777-35 Echo. And registration, all that, country of registrations, Taiwan. So you can see, you can see where all these flights are coming and going from. By the way, I used to look at this and I still will if there's any serious crisis going on. Like over Afghanistan, you could see some of the actual drones over Iraq and Afghanistan because the patterns were so circular. I would show it to some of my military pilot friends and they would say, oh, that has to be a drone because pilots can't fly that circular. So here's Afghanistan right here. Not many flights going on over there. And it's interesting. I've been looking at different countries, the numbers of flights going on. This is India right here in the middle. Here's Thailand. Most of the flights here in Thailand have actually been, there's not many domestic flights in Thailand. So you can see it's pretty quiet. Most everything is stopped. Now let's look over here at Europe. There's Africa. There's never many flights in Africa. Let's see here. I've looked at Italy off and on. You'll see it looks like there's a lot of flights, but when you actually look at them and you click on them, a lot of times they're flying over. They're not actually flying to or from Italy. Like I've been to Florence and all these places quite a lot. I love Italy, but it's so terrible what's happening. So this one is flying from, okay, that one is, where does it say it's flying from? There we go. It's going from, yeah, it's a domestic flight from Palermo to Brescia, India. Wow. I mean, not India, Italy. Wow. There was many years ago, there was a huge church explosion in Brescia. And they used to store gunpowder in the bottoms of churches, and the gunpowder would sometimes explode and just wipe out an entire village. Look at the name of that village and look up like church explosion. I think it killed, I've forgotten, like 2,000 people. But anyway, as you can see from the world, the virus, even without looking at these about how the virus is spreading, you can look at this and see how the virus is spreading. You can see that really, in reality, we talk about a shutdown, but there's not much of a shutdown. In reality, they're talking about flattening the curve and all this, but there's no evidence, no serious evidence at this point that there's no herd immunity yet. I think we can say that with pretty high confidence. So when they start opening back up again, well, we'll see what happens. Here's Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is one of the United States. Well, Puerto Rico is part of the United States, but Puerto Rico, you can see here, Puerto Rico once banned a flight ban from U.S. hotspots because a lot of Puerto Ricans that live in one of the states often live in New York. Huge amounts live in New York and Florida, right? And so New York is obviously a huge hotspot right now. Many people dying. Every minute people are dying in New York right now, and many have been flying to Florida and Puerto Rico and other places. So you can see, Puerto Rico is about to be hit. And so here we go look at Honduras over in Central America. Honduras seeks land for mass graves in case CCP deaths surge. I changed the title of that myself. And so there's some other nice statistics charts you can look at. This one, COVID-19 healthdata.org is actually a good site. You might want to write that one down. COVID-19.healthdata.org. That one's got some interesting projections. Of course, projections are, if projections are ever right, it's just a wild coincidence. I mean, projections are what they are. And they're also very good politically. If you have your people set very much higher projections than you actually project or estimate might happen, then if a number comes in lower, you can say, see, the measures we took actually lowered, it's just smoke and mirrors, political smoke and mirrors. But this is also a nice site, COVID-19 stats.global. Actually, one of our great people on Facebook who's often on my Facebook actually published this one. So John Rumpeline, you can see his name on the bottom, but that's a good one. So let's get down to just answering questions. And that's what we'll do. I'll just try to answer as many questions as possible, or at least for a while, and open the questions here. Let me start at the bottom. All right. Hello from Minnesota. One other thing let's mention. It's clear. I mean, the United States government is printing, or at least producing, more money, whether it's currency or whether it's electronic. I don't know what the actual, but the bottom line is it's going to cause inflation. It's going to cause, a lot of people are still putting faith in the government, but remember, this is the government that's doing all kinds of crazy stuff now that at the highest levels told us not to wear masks, right? This is the government that told us not to wear masks. So when it comes to how to deal with this situation that our government has never dealt with before, they were the ones that told us not to wear masks. And so I'm actually concerned that, you could be looking at real serious civil unrest in the United States at some point. in the not too distant future. I don't know. Nobody knows. But certainly with approximately 17 million people unemployed now and more going unemployed every microsecond, it's really terrible. What's happening, and people haven't gotten their $1,200 check yet from the government, and many apparently won't even get them till September, if they ever get them. And it's starting to look like a lot of people, you can see people chatting about it, that the government just waived this $1,200 check to pass this bill through in a record bill in record time without any time to really consider it. Rush. Here's $1,200. Here's $1,200, and passed it. No $1,200. You got to fill out all these paperworks. Multiple pages. Some people aren't going to get it. Some people are going to get it. Some people have to wait till June, July, August, September. And then what'll happen then? My guess is, well, when seconds count, the government's only years away. And this is going to potentially create a very volatile situation in the United States. And actually, I've been thinking about that quite a lot. I'll need to return to the United States just to see how my own country's doing, and go state to state, state by state, and help in any way that I can help. And I think I've been thinking about a lot and talking with people. One way to help would be to go, because we're going to have to restart the economy ourselves. Our government is, look what they are. We're going to have to find ways so that we all do well ourselves, right? If we take care of our local families and ourselves, then the country will lift back up again. And I'm thinking about how I could help with my camera and my pen and my knowledge of the United States. I've lived all over the country and been around quite a lot. Would be to find people that are succeeding and put them on camera, not go to all the, woe be me stories, of which there's going to be a lot. But find the people that are actually succeeding and find their secrets. And so that they, hey, let's put the camera on you and tell us how's things gotten better for you? Let's hear some secrets so that people on the other side of the country can do the same thing, right? So that we can lift ourselves back up again. That's what I'm thinking about doing. Let this first wave, sweep over, and possibly the second wave if there's two waves of the virus. And then we'll start to see how the things are starting to shake out, and then go back to the United States and help get this thing started back up again. Maybe start in Key West and work my way from there, or maybe Puerto Rico. But there's Key West, so maybe just go back, and then just go up and see my country, and just go everywhere. Go with the farmers. Go with the small business is vital in the United States. I've been to a lot of countries that were communist before, and they were mostly dependent on big companies, and they didn't have the ingenuity that countries like the United States have, because you can benefit in the United States, you can benefit from your labors, right? And from your innovation and from your risk taking and that sort of thing. And at no time ever have we faced such a challenge, not even World War II. This is really epically serious. Some people might think I'm overstating that, but I don't think so at all, actually. But yeah, I think I need to go back to the United States and go from state to state and figure out who's doing the right thing. And then, build a community where we communicate, the things that work. And Americans are very good at that. And then we'll just do that. And I'll get to meet a lot of people all over the states that always come on, like Dave in Utah. I'll be able to go up to Utah and say, how's it going, man? Let's see what you're doing right. What have you planted in your garden? How are you making money? Are you trading in Bitcoin? Are you trading? What's going to happen to our currency? Are people going to start trading in a different currency? Of course, if people start trading in Bitcoin, the United States government will try to crack down on that. Oh man, I can see epic struggles. A lot of these people that were viewed as whack jobs before, the preppers or the people that thought that there would be FEMA camps or something like that, I mean, they can suddenly be, they won't seem as crazy, actually. I mean, I've been a prepper. I'm not one of those that thinks that Americans are going to be run off to concentration camps, but you know, the stranger things have happened and actually could, but we've got guns. So let's Kelly's saying, looking at property in Montana. Yeah, let's see. That's a good place. Montana's lovely, man. I love Montana. I love the whole West, man. For that matter, I love the East. Megan says, I'm poor, but I'm trying to recycle everything, plant food, store water in my bottles, making cleaners and using fabric instead of paper. I don't know. I'm trying. Oh, that's good. And, you know, and we still have the ability to communicate quite openly, and there's a lot of things on the internet, and then we can just talk, because, you know, nobody's ever faced a situation in our lifetime, certainly not in the United States. And so we need to compare notes based on our current realities. This is for the record books. I mean, the things that we're doing now, how people behave now, they'll be known for the rest of their lives. They do well. They have a moral behavior, ethical behavior, and they'll be known for that forever. But if they take advantage of this and do bad things, get into criminality and whatever, they might not be remembered long. They might get shot. This is very serious. Let's see. Judith is saying, De La Fuente, in Spain, unemployment is growing. However, there isn't enough people to work in agriculture. Better to stock up with food, as prices will go up everywhere. Yeah, they will, as will inflation. That's why I keep saying, you know, food prices will go up. Now, you can look online and see all kinds of articles where food prices globally have gone down, but let's keep this in perspective. You can already see hot spots popping up where food prices are spiking. Various countries are, you know, halting exports of rice or whatever. Other countries are hoarding for obvious reasons. One of the reasons that prices have gone down is just demand has gone down for now. And fuel prices are way down because Saudi and Russia are doing their fighting, or they're trying to knock our fracking business out as one goal, which they may succeed at if we don't do something definitive. But imagine that the United States fracking industry is out, and now there's not anything really keeping the lid on, price cartels such as OPEC just raising the price through the roof. As soon as they knock us out of the oil business, then they can raise prices as they will. Knowing what Saudi Arabia is up to, I think about it a lot. If I were President Trump, I would be very polite to Saudi Arabia to start with, and then I would be a little bit more firm. And then very, very quickly, I would escalate if they didn't raise their prices to not take out our fracking industry. I would escalate to the point where it became clear, without me making the threat, that we can take out your oil, like militarily take out your oil. That'll raise the prices, and it'll put us right back in business. And if you think that some of us won't support that, that would be a mistake. A lot of us do remember that the 9/11 attacks did come from Saudi Arabia. They did not come from Iraq. They did not come from Afghanistan. There were some Al-Qaeda stationed in Afghanistan, and there were some in Florida, and there were some in Jersey, and and there was some in Germany. But Al-Qaeda had moved around from country to country, finally went over to Pakistan and Afghanistan because they kept getting kicked out of other countries. And Taliban was about to kick Al-Qaeda out, actually, when that attack happened. But the reality is, clearly, most of the hijackers on 9/11 were Saudis. There were no Afghans. There were no Iraqis. There was a Egyptian. There was from UAE, Jordan, I think. Was anyone from Qatar? I don't recall now, but most were of the 19 hijackers were Saudi. And it was, this isn't conspiracy theory. It's very clear and proven that top levels of the Saudi government were involved in that. What did we do? We attacked Afghanistan and Iraq. yeah, money talks, man. The American people, to some of the top leadership, clearly are looked at as cattle. We are farm animals to some of the top leadership, American leadership. Clearly, that's how they treated us. Saudi Arabia attacked us, but Saudi Arabia's got lots and lots of money, and so we attacked Iraq. Alrighty, beautiful. And we attacked Afghanistan, and we're still there. So, yeah, Charlotte says, up north in the winter, people depend on heating oil. Now imagine wintertime is really right around the corner. Yeah, it hasn't even hit summer yet, but wintertime is very close. Strategically speaking, it's like right around the next corner, right? And now take out our business and raise our prices. And now now imagine this year at wintertime is going to be a much colder winter for a lot of people. A lot of people this winter time are probably going to have the heat turned down. Likewise, they're going to be, I bought 2 more fans actually, so I can keep my aircon off. I got my aircon on right now, so I don't start sweating when I'm on. But yeah, I got a couple more fans. I already had fans, but fans save money, obviously. Yeah, buy a CB radio now. Yeah, actually, I just got a shortwave. But not one that transmits. I'm going to get one of the. When I come back to the United States, I'll get them. I'll get the proper radios. Yeah, Robert Day says, Cynthia, trust me, it's easy to take Michael off the internet. It's just a flip of a switch. Flip of a switch. But yeah, we will. Sometime this year, I'll come back. Let's see how it shapes up. And formulate an idea on a concept of operation for this. Where to start, how to do this. I've got a general idea. I want to interview people that are succeeding so that we can share information that works, not crybaby stuff, because there's going to be a lot of tears for everybody, right? We won't waste time with that. We need to focus on how to get things going again, get that spark fired up, get rolling. And so Sharon says, why do we cozy up to the Saudis? Strategic reasons. Money is one. The Saudis are very smart. They know how to spread their money around. They know how to, garner influence. They're very, very good at that. They're very serious influence players. And they don't play by any moral standards that Americans would recognize, as you can see. Well, look what happened at in their embassy in Turkey when they cut Khashoggi into little pieces, and then got caught doing it. That's pretty incredible. Megan Neese, I truly believe they have already done dry runs on internet and power. It's easy to take out the internet. It would be. Robert's saying, tell everybody to get a CB radio. I think better to get a shortwave, but to get I don't have a license for shortwave, but I will get one. And obviously, if I come to I will come to the United States, but I'll also bring sat gear and that sort of thing, because, they can take me off the internet. And I do anticipate if things go sideways in the U.S., with some sort of revolt, that sort of thing, there'll probably be a lot of message control. There already is, actually, in the United States. But there'll probably be a lot of, throttling by, social media and every other way that they can. Cynthia Wood, my community is hurting. Fracking and oil business dried up overnight, and now the pandemic. Hard times in Permian Basin. There are. Let's see. I've already said the major things I wanted to say. I'm just chit-chatting with people now and answering questions as I can. As Robert Day says, the internet will be next to be attacked. Michael Yon, trust me, the old-fashioned CB radio needs to make a comeback. People do need to have ways to communicate, like maybe we can use a mesh system. Where's, I got to ask John Robb if he'll come on. Maybe I can get John Robb. Let me take a note here. He's follows my Twitter, I think. John Robb, that guy's brilliant. He would send messages every once in a while about things, but he would know about things like this. If you know what mesh communications is, Hong Kong patriots were using. I love Hong Kongers. They're really incredible. But they were using a mesh app, and the way the mesh app works is you put the app on your freaking Apple thing or whatever. This thing made in China, man. Anyway. So it doesn't need the internet. So with the mesh app, if everybody puts the apps on, as soon as you come near somebody else that has the app, your message spreads like a virus, right? So it'll spread very quickly, and they can spread like right across the country very quickly. I don't know how they do their magic to make it work, but it's a very Hong Kongers were using that quite a lot. So when I would be in public, I would get all these messages because I set it to public, right? And so I would get messages like what's going on or whatever. Of course, the communist-loving police would try to spoof that, but it was also very effective. So the mesh can be one way that we can communicate. So we should keep that in mind. And there's probably a lot of better ways to communicate as well. But like Robert is saying, we need to make sure that we keep our communications open, whether it's walkie-talkies in your local area or using mesh. I mean, we can, do texting via mesh and that sort of thing. The one mesh company, wow, what was their name? I put it on, I published it a few times and I actually was using it, but I still don't remember the name. I think they're in Oregon, and there was like tens of thousands of downloads all of a sudden in Hong Kong, and then even more because Hong Kongers were using that mesh communication system. Hey, if anybody remembers what that mesh communication system is, can you put it up, please? Barbara says Boris Johnson is out of ICU. Great. Barbara says, yeah, good. I hope he gets out. And I hope I hope he survives. And now he's learned a lesson. Don't taunt Mother Nature. Hope he makes it out. Robert Day, California is attacking ham radio operators. They're trying to shut that infrastructure down. Check it out. It's not a joke. Hey, can you put a comment to that? Some of my friends are using ham quite a lot. We need to talk about ham radio in a serious way, actually, like really talk about it. And the preppers talk about that for years, and like they should use ham radio. Hey, Heidi, let me see here. Bradley Nauman, I'm book rich, got a ton of books in the attic for when the internet goes out. Yeah, exactly. Sharron brings up an important point. It's a few little words here. No tax revenue. Imagine how this is going to play out. I mean, the implications are enormous. I mean, we're talking such a multivariable problem here that, think about it on the municipal level, on the county or parish level, on the state level, on the federal level. Think about so many things like how the game wardens work, that game wardens work on, hunting licenses, fishing licenses. How do they get their money? Imagine so many things that people are just not going to pay the license for, or how many things are going to have to be shut down as a triage, economic triage. National parks. It's not like the country will end without national parks. The elk will still be rolling around out there. It might be better for them. I don't know. But I would hate to see it. It would be a nice chance to see the EPA neutered a little bit, but I don't want to lose the EPA. I've spent too much time in countries like India and China that don't have a real EPA, or here in Thailand, the air can be fantastically polluted at times. The air in the United States and across Europe is extremely clean compared to here in Asia. So, I don't want to lose the EPA. I know that upsets a lot of people when I'm sitting here advocating for EPA. They need to be shackled a little, or cut their funding and focus on the big stuff. But if you've spent much time in places like China or India or just so many countries without an EPA or without an effective EPA, you'll probably change your mind. Likewise with lawsuits, the litigious society that the United States has, that suing all the time for ridiculous stupidity stuff. But then you go to countries where it's almost impossible to sue, certainly without any success. And then you see, well, actually, we do need that. Let's see here. Oh, Mesh app. Okay, you and Kip Moon. Always pay attention to what you and Kip Moon's comments, because he always puts up interesting stuff, and he doesn't put up a bunch of Wikipedia links and that sort of thing. There's a hair on my microphone. Sorry about that. You and Kip Moon. I don't remember if that was the actual name of that one. That might have been it. Bridgeify. I wonder if anyway, it was effective because I started using it and it was effective. So, FireChat, that's it. Albert Planis says it. It was FireChat. Ewan, it's FireChat. But a lot of Hong Kongers were using that too. And I don't know how well that would work for us. How will that work for us if we start getting cut off by, Facebook or just the internet, internet goes out? We can experiment, can't we? We can but that requires, certainly everybody downloading it. Yeah, see, Robert Day is saying, remember that most states are tethered to the federal income tax. When revenue goes down on a federal level, states are forced to raise everything else. Yeah. I think we're back down to that thing that a lot of us have advocated for years. Well, I'm not an anti-taxer. I think we need to pay taxes. There's stuff we have to pay taxes for. We need our roads and everything like that. But our tax system is absolutely ridiculous. It's just like look at this, for instance, this $1,200 money that people are supposed to get soon. Now, to pass this bill through, just 10 days ago, or when did they finally pass this? They're like, pass it. Here, everybody's going to get $1,200. You're going to get it really quick, and boom. Has anybody watching this got $1,200? Any American watching this? And then they've already started changing the goalposts. They've already started, okay, you got to do this. It's a deduction for that. It's all this complicated stuff, multi-page forms. Then you got to wait. It's like, what? So in other words, it was a bait and switch. They baited Americans out not to put up resistance for this bill. Clearly baited. And the money went to the top less than 1%. It's clearly what just happened. They just hoodwinked the American people. That is utterly clear. And so what are people going to do when 17 million people are out of work? We're losing huge amounts of small companies, which in the United States is very important. Small business in the United States is like, how much of our economy is it? 50%? It's a huge amount. And they're going out they're just falling like flies right now. And there's so many bullshit jobs out there, is, the proper terminology for it, bullshit jobs that really don't do anything. Like making these IRS complicated forms. Just give out the $1,200. Give it out. And if there's leakage, of course there's going to be leakage. Of course there's going to be fraud. Of course. There's going to be that anyway. But they're creating these obstacles and pains and just like I strongly think that we could be, because people have talked about this for generations, we could be looking at a taxpayer revolt. Literally the things that crazy people used to talk about. I mean, it can be the things that Main Street people talk about now, and having a national sales tax, period, because we need to pay taxes. But how are you going to collect the taxes? How are you going to collect the taxes when, first of all, the tax base has gone so low, and now everybody's going to try to save every penny? They're going to start trying to hide every amount that they can from the IRS. So what's the IRS going to do? They can't go after everybody, especially when cutting their taxes, cutting their revenues, cuts their ability to do that as well, right? So I mean, it's a war type situation. The more that they're, the less revenue they have, the less ability they have to collect it, right? I mean, when are they going to open the courts again? When are they going to open the courts where they can take massive amounts of people to court for this stuff? They're setting up for first of all, the anger of Americans and frustration of Americans and the desperation to say, look, that's it. You got to make something simple that the average 10th grader can understand. Like you pay 6% sales tax on everything you buy, period. That's it, 6%, whatever. Everything you buy, 6% sales tax. That's it. No more filling out forms, no more, it's just like, and that's it. At county level, have to put up their county level tax and whatever. But what are they going to do when people, first of all, can't pay, and then cities start to collapse, which will happen. Garbage collection will stop. There'll be rats everywhere. Police won't be there. And so let me ask questions. I can talk all night, but I would rather hear what others say. Here's the link to consider, Michael. Okay, I'm going to check that off. Off-grid survival. California officials declare ham radio is no longer a benefit. Oh, what? Or they're always going for stuff in California that are clearly, they make everybody's antenna quiver that wants freedom. They're always doing things like take your weapons, do all kinds of things, massive tax rates, trying to wrest control into the control of the government. I'm a little government type person. We need to pay taxes. We need to have a strong government, but it needs to be a lot weaker than it is now, a lot weaker. Individuals need to be unleashed, as Ronald Reagan might say. The individual American is the one that can lift this thing up back in the United States. And the world's going to depend on the United States economy lifting back up. Because without the U.S. economy, the Chinese economy is dead. It's dead too. Well, it's dead anyway. I don't see China rising back from the ashes like a phoenix. If anything, they may end up in famines and the Civil War. I don't know what's going to do. It's hard to predict. You can predict all day long, but it's hard to be right. Let's put it that way. But without, the U.S. economy really taking off, first of all, our military will become like the British military. And I've been in combat with the Brits a lot. Very professional, very courageous, very good soldiers, very under-resourced. Not enough of anything. Vehicles always breaking down in combat. Not enough helicopters, not enough drones, not enough this, not enough that. Radio doesn't work. I'm like, how do you can't defend the United Kingdom without the United States, which, they're basically our cousins or even closer, so we would definitely, if somebody attacks Britain, come to their aid instantly. But I've seen how the British military is due to their dwindling tax revenues, and that could be the U.S. military instantaneously. Right now, they're having problems with recruitment, considering stop losses. If you know what stop losses are, it's basically like, hey, you're getting ready to get out of the military, and they're like, oh, nope, you've been voluntold for another year because you signed up for all this, or even taking people out of retirement and that sort of thing. And hello, Pavo. Are you in Poland? Oh, you are in Poland. Welcome back from Poland. Happy not to go to Thailand. It's madness there. Actually, in Thailand, it's quite nice. Thais are, I'm not in fear for, the problems in Thailand can be similar to the United States. Like crime is going to increase, clearly. I mean, the Thai police have been warning about that, of course, just like American police have been warning about it. I mean, crime rate's going to go up in Thailand. It's going to go up in America. It's going to go up in Canada. I mean, that's just normal. When the economies do this, crime goes up. It's, period. And so, but otherwise, like, I'm not afraid of the Thai army or anything like that. They've got good discipline. Bradley Nauman, I'm more worried about power vacuums happening due to disease, plus all the nuclear weapons in the world. That's a big deal. It is a big deal, Bradley. I mean, I take that quite seriously. Jesse Taylor, Britain, California equals emotional abuse will beat you down and make you weak and dependent. Yeah. I lived in California twice, and I love California as a state. And there's so many great people come from California. It's a complex state. It's really more like a country. It's actually Florida. I grew up in Florida, but I went to school in California twice. And California is sort of like a country. And in Florida, where I grew up, is sort of like California super, 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 super light. Like Nepal is India super, super, super light. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of complexity in Florida that a lot of people don't realize. But California's got that, like 100 times, well, at least 5 times more. But Dobra wieczór, Pavel. And let's see what Kelly is saying. One of the things I see is important to bring things back is that people begin to do things old school. Buy from mom and pop. Yes. Bring back the local butcher. Yes. And that means, FDA ain't going to be up on everybody's business all the time, for better and for worse. It'll be for both, for sure. I mean, buy from mom and pop. Bring back the local butcher, pharmacist. Yep. Move to more rural communities. Yep. I'm a travel agent working solely on commission. I had to invent a job for myself when I couldn't find a job. I love what I do in this stuff storm. Travel agents were helping their clients where the large Expedias, etc., were leaving people on hold for hours. Be old school. I'm praying for a renaissance. Yeah, Kelly. I mean, and become connected more with our own communities, because, if you really look around you, depending on where you live, you're going to find people with a lot of different skill sets, that know how to do stuff that you don't know how to do. And, like plant a garden. You might go, hey, that guy's got a really good garden. And go knock on his door. Hey, how do you do this? And ask him how to do it. Right. And he'll probably stop and help you out. Into a hi, Michael. He says, I'm a bit fascinated with your apocalypse view. Things you see in movies, can that really be happening now post pandemic? I'm not saying apocalyptic. I mean, it could be. I mean, my imagination's pretty expansive, but you try to temper that with what do you think really might happen. It's very clear that our economy is collapsing. That's obvious. I mean, that's not imaginary. That's 17 million people unemployed. And by the time I've started this podcast already, or whatever you call it, live cast, till now, there's got to be many, many, many more thousands unemployed, if not tens of thousands, just in this amount of time. And so, yeah, I mean, we're going to have to reinvent a lot of things and do them better this time. And we got to get the government more out of our business into doing things that are important to us. Like, hey, your government, you shut up and you go build roads. You know what I mean? Get out of my life. Like the government telling people what they should do in their bedrooms and stuff. It's like, shut up. It's none of your business. If they want to do that, whatever. If they want to do this, go, whatever. It doesn't matter. America, be free, right? As long as they're not doing something that's truly criminal, then, we need to get back to less, on our backs about everything. Actually, the United States is very draconian. Out of all and it's weird because it's very free on one side. It's like a Hindu god with 108 faces. It's got one face that's very, very free, the United States. And it's got another face that's almost as locked down as like China. Listen, unless you've spent a lot of time in China and a lot of time in the United States and quite a few other countries, that may sound weird. But for somebody like me who spent more than half of my life outside of the United States in 75 countries total, in 48 states, I went to California at school twice. I grew up in Florida, lived in Massachusetts twice, North Carolina twice, Ohio. I've seen our country. And there's only 2 countries I've done at least 1,000 international border crossings, right? At least 1,000. I've only had problems in 2 countries, Israel and the United States. Oh, and Hong Kong. They kicked me out of Hong Kong on February 5th. But that's because I'm giving communists a hard time supporting Hong Kong freedom fighters. Let's face it, I'm surprised they didn't kick me out earlier. I'm surprised they didn't shoot me or something. But anyway, 3. So United States, Israel, and obviously the Chinese communists kept me out of Hong Kong, because the Hong Kong freedom fighters I wildly support. And that's one thing. Listen, when I get back to America, we'll talk about Hong Kong and talk about ways we can support them that we're not going to talk about online. But yeah, we need to support Taiwan and Hong Kong, but we'll talk about some things not online. Hey, Catherine, depends on the state you live in. But yeah, I mean, the U.S. government in many ways is quite actually draconian. There's so many Well, if you've lived around the world much, you'll see what I'm saying. Uh, yeah, Matthew Dill says, just heard on another program that was 6 million plus 2 weeks consecutively. From what I've read, there's about 17 million unemployed now. And so by the time, tomorrow's sunrise or sunset here, maybe another million or more. Hey, I hope everything's good in Thailand, Potjamarn. I'm trying to answer questions here. Let's see if there's Peter Ung. It's better to think of bad possible scenarios and evils than to be naive and caught off guard. Exactly, because that's a good point. Because as an example, I had masks when when most people didn't. I bought 600 of this type to hand out in January. Remember, in January, people were like, it's just the flu. You're going crazy. You're one of them hyperventilators, and I'm like, well, a lot of those hyperventilators are now dying on ventilators. But I had masks, and I bought 600 more to hand out to friends in Hong Kong and here in Thailand, right? I used actually that kind of mask. I keep it. Often I'll keep them outside to get in the sun. But yeah, I mean, I'm a positive cup half full man. But at the same time, let's be realistic. I'm out there in a real full contact world where cups get broken all the time. So let's be realistic about things. But at the same time, we've got a lot of human capital here in Thailand. Real hard, very courageous people with a lot of skills. So Thais can raise themselves back up quickly as well. Teflon Thailand. It's not called Teflon Thailand for nothing. Hit it with something and it rolls off. It's like I call it bamboo. It's so tough. I mean, it bends. The winds are heavy, and then it's still there. It didn't break. Thailand's tough, man, and Americans are too. But Americans are only at their best when things get really bad. So we're about to figure out who the great ones are and I have a feeling we're going to see a large leadership shakeup here. We'll see. In the United States, because we're going to start finding out who managers are and who leaders are, right? Because we've been managed, and the managers who've been for years, people said, when you're in the military and you see a person that's just an officer or just an NCO, but is not really a leader, they'll call them a manager, right? It's an insult, it's a heavy insult. But the ones who are really great NCOs, like sergeants or officers, they call them a leader, right? Because they've earned it. You can't demand respect from people, or you can, but you're not going to get it. Put Jermaine saying, Michael, do you think the PM 2.5 mask filter is sufficient? That's the one I brought to hand out to people. Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is what medical people are using. Yeah. The only reason I don't wear this one, a couple of reasons. One is it's not as comfortable actually as this one. I like this one's more comfortable. That's the one I like to wear. It's my 3M 7500 series. That's a 7502. Which way? 7502. You can see it. And this one's not as comfortable. And sorry about that. And actually, they're more expensive. Even if these are only $2 each or $5 each or whatever. When I got this, it was only about 20, and then a few bucks for the filters. I've forgotten how much. They just last longer. I did the costing out, and I was like, this is going to save me huge money instead of changing that out once or twice a day or 3 times a day or whatever. It's much cheaper to get the good mask. And I'm telling you, you might not believe it, but this one is a lot more comfortable. It's a lot more comfortable, and it seals better. It seals a lot better. It seals better, and you look like Top Gun. You can go, talk like Mav, like you're about to shoot down a Russian or something. Okay. But that's it. I would go with that, definitely. Yeah, definitely switch to eyeglasses for this. Good idea. According to the virologist, with this particular coronavirus, it's mostly getting into us from our mouth and our nose, but also to a lesser extent, they're saying through our eyes, but not through our ears. Or I don't know if it can get through cuts, though. I'm actually interested in that. I'm going to guess yes, but I don't know. I don't know. It's better to gotta take that from the Paweł Gajek is saying from Poland. Mask and glasses, guys. Your eyes matter here also. Talk, 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 talk. Yeah, for sure. I could use some pierchoni right now, but you know what? I'm fasting. Let's see. Or some borscht. Let's see. Vicky, where do you stand on letting people go back to work and practicing mitigation? Well, I've been thinking about that a lot. You can imagine I've been thinking about it a lot. Well, let's look back at this map. Let me show you something here. Let's look at this. Uh-oh. Let's look at this. Flight radar 24. Uh-oh. It's flight radar 24. I have to. Looks like it's gone. There we go. Flight radar 24. Can you see it? Is it popping up? Flight radar 20. Yeah, there it is. It'll pop up in just a second. It'll pop up in just a second. So when it comes to mitigation, in reality, it's going to pop up that as soon as that screen goes off. In reality, there are already huge numbers of people still circulating. I mean, internally, and I mean, in reality, it's a half measure quarantine. There's not really a quarantine, but it's destroying the economy. And so seeing how it's actually playing out, because remember, since January, I've been saying we should ground all flights from China and all flights that are coming in from countries that are letting people come in from China, and all Chinese nationals, unless they've been in the United States for a while. If they've been in the U.S. for a month or two, longer enough that the infectious disease experts say, okay, they would have presented symptoms by now, then okay, fine. But any Chinese national that was coming into the United States should have been quarantined back since January. And I was saying that back since January. Remember, I bought this one in January. I bought that in January. I was looking at some of my emails. I was talking with one of my friends. He's a very interesting friend. I'd love to have him on, but he'd have to get permission from the government to come on. But he reached out to me on January 11th. He was like, look, this is a serious deal with this thing. And this guy, let me tell you, he's a very interesting guy. And I was already paying attention to it. If you were watching my live streams, you would hear me mention every once in a while, like, what's going on with this virus in China? What's going on with this? Anyway, just pay attention to it. And I would keep going about Hong Kong fighting. And every once in a while I'd be like, pay attention to that virus. And then we start getting into about, I don't know, January 23rd-ish, I think, is when I was like, hey, pay attention. This is serious. And then certainly by the 27th, I was buying these 600. And I think on the 27th or 29th is when I did an official post on Patreon. I was like, everybody get masked right now while the getting's good. So on my Patreon, which is free to everybody, by the way, you don't have to be a subscriber to my Patreon to have seen that message. Everything on my Patreon is free, but please hit my Patreon. You're helping other people see stuff. But if everybody who paid attention to me in January got these when they were cheap, and we're already wearing them. Like when I got kicked out of Hong Kong on February 5th, when I was coming back in, I was wearing a mask. So if you look at me online getting kicked out, you'll see me. I was wearing not this mask. I was wearing another mask that's across the room. I was wearing a mask like this. You can see the photos of me being detained. I was wearing a mask and I was wearing gloves. And that was February 5th. And so, yeah, the Red Plague. Hey, Megan, I've been watching you since you were in the streets of Hong Kong around Thanksgiving. Yeah, that was something else, wasn't it? It's a wonder. Wow, it's something else. I'm surprised they let me stay in that long. Jenna Thacker saying, I watched a YouTuber fly from Florida to California the other day, and there were 4 other passengers on the plane. I don't know how they could afford to keep flying. Yeah. They might be carrying cargo or the flight back as well, but they might just be doing cargo flights or something along those lines. I don't know. SB is saying, Mike, my airline pilot friends report that the domestic airlines are a hot mess. One airline had early captain retirements with 600 plus pilots taking it. One airline grounded its fleet of 757s almost a year before their scheduled retirement. Others extended leave 3 to 6 months. My friend, who is a regional airline pilot, is grounded for a week with many flights canceled. I am surprised so many passenger aircraft are still flying. Any thoughts out there? I don't know. You probably find stories about it online, but I'm going to just take a wild guess that a lot of it might be due to cargo. They might be carrying cargo. I don't know. Barbara Summy, they say China is not letting the wet markets sell cats and dogs. What have you heard? I don't know. China's a big place. Bradley Nauman is saying, have you seen the speech made by the imam in Gaza about the coronavirus? Let me guess. Let me guess what he's saying. He's probably saying something about the Israelites or something. I don't know. He's probably blaming it on the Jews. I have no idea. You know, when in doubt, blame the Jews. Or if you're Chinese Communist Party, when in doubt, blame Japan or the United States, or better yet, blame Japan and the United States. That's always a winner in China. If you ever go to China and you watch movies on your television at night, it'll just be anti-Japanese stuff, hour after hour, anti-Japanese stuff. It's crazy. It's just like there'll always be a drunk Japanese soldier coming in with his uniform, and he's got a bottle of whiskey, and he starts raping some young girl, and then he murders her and her family and stuff. It's like hour after hour. They've been building this hatred against Japanese. Like, for instance, when I went to the museum at Nanking, there's a huge museum, Disneyland level quality. If you've not been there, you might not ever go at this point, but that thing must have cost $50 million. I mean, it is massive. It is incredibly well done, and it's just a hate farm. It's just made to create hatred against Japanese. Now, why would they do that? Because for years they've been setting up to do to Japan and to Taiwan what they've done to the Uyghurs and what they've done to Tibet. I always tell my Japanese friends, you need to throw out Article 9 of your Constitution, which is a part of their Constitution, basically to neuter the Japanese ability to defend themselves. They need to throw that out, and they need to build their military up as strong as they can get it. Japan needs to build a warrior culture again, because I'm tell you what, China's got one. And China will come and get it. Let's see. Ward, my childhood friend, has posted something, but I can't read it because it's a link. Oh, when you do put a link, please put a sentence or two. Introduction is helpful. That way people will know if they want to click through or not. Thanks for putting it up there, Matt. Matthew Dill, Delta should be kicking itself for retiring NWA's cargo fleet of B-747 Charlies, I'll bet. Mark Haza is saying, Michael, why do no other part of China get hit as bad as Wuhan? I don't know. Although they closed it down. They closed down Hubei province, right? So they didn't let people from Hubei keep traveling to other places, but they let them come to Thailand. They let them go to the United States and Europe and Italy, and they let them go all over the place, right? They let them go to Spain. They closed down Hubei province from China internally, and then they let them spread around the world. First-degree murder. Chinese Communist Party has committed untold acts of first-degree murder just with this virus, and grabbing up everybody's unknown numbers of masks. Yeah. All right. Thanks, Ward. Let's see. Barbara says, Japan is giving their companies money to come back to Japan from China. Or I don't know. What is your thoughts? Is this true? I don't know, but it should be out there if it is. It should be widely reported. Bradley Nauman is saying, he says the coronavirus was a soldier sent by Allah. Right. All righty then. Let's see. He's like one of those kook jobs in Florida or Louisiana that keeps these mega churches open, like, wow, we'll be protected by God. Or the Mexican president who thinks his medallions will save him from the virus. Or Boris Johnson, who's out there shaking hands in a hospital, taunting the virus. There's so many people that are just like, don't you understand? That's a virus, and it doesn't care about you. It doesn't care about your religion. It doesn't care how rich or poor you are. It'll smack you in the eye. And that's sorry, that's my dog. And that's what it's done. Jenna Thacker, yes, and it's just happened around their New Year, so everyone was traveling more. Oh yeah, Chinese New Year, exactly, exactly. I'm gonna shoot up to the top and see if because there's a lot of questions I just shot right by. Um, oh, Eduardo Suga saying, I'm start fasting tomorrow with you on April 10th. All right, good. Are you in Brazil? Good. Uh, Hello from Israel and Pflugerville, Texas, California. Let's see. I was looking at Israeli statistics as well. Hey, Zane in Sydney. Hope everything's good. Let's see. Mike Morgan is saying, how do we get rid of Fauci? Just keep saying get rid of Fauci, and enough people say it and he'll become too much to carry. And also the Surgeon General, what a clown. That guy, the Surgeon General, the Surgeon General is even worse than Fauci. Can that be? Could be. But the Surgeon General, the Surgeon General is like, don't wear a mask. Remember that tweet that he did? He was like, come on. What did he say? Something like, come on, people, telling people not to wear masks. The only thing the Surgeon General didn't like to wear a mask because he had a bone in his nose because he's a witch doctor. Seriously. He was saying don't wear a mask because that was the U.S. Surgeon General. And now when they try to make anti-vaxxers, and I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I got a lot of vaccinations last year to return to India, right? I'm not an anti-vaxxer at all. But when they're trying to make these anti-vaxxers look crazy, it's not going to work. Because when the Surgeon General and the CDC and the World Health Organizations all come up and lie to our faces, transparently lie to the point where even a junior high school student can see it, I don't trust them on vaccines either. You can't just turn your lie switch on and off, they're liars. And Maura was awesome, SB. She's going to be coming back, actually. Rodney Ward said she'll be coming back as well. Actually, let's see if she sent any messages since I've been on. But I'm going to get her so that she can do her own podcast and she can just do them whenever she wants. We're having some little tech issues to get to that point. I don't see any messages from her right now. All right. Pamela saying, hi, Michael. I'm going to start the fast. Any tips? I've done the liquid fast before. Listen, liquid fast, unless you're just drinking water or coffee, is not really a fast. Clear soups, no, that's not fasting. That's just liquid food, but not water fast. Any tips appreciated? Pamela, that's not fasting. That's just a liquid diet. There's a complete difference. I mean, you can live for the rest of your life on a liquid diet. A lot of people do, actually. But actually, Dr. Jason Fung, he's a Canadian doctor. His last name is F-U-N-G. I've read his books. He's a good person to start. And you can see him on YouTube as well. And he also talks a lot about diabetes and all that. I don't fast. I don't have diabetes. But he talks about that as well. And by the way, obesity and other comorbidities like diabetes seem to be greatly increase your chance of dying from the CCP virus. So obesity and diabetes, and you can knock diabetes in the head. Pharmaceutical companies, of course. Now, when you say something like this, pharmaceutical companies don't want you to know that because they just want to make money. That sounds all crazy. It sounds like crazy talk. But let's face it. Pharmaceutical companies don't want you to cure your diabetes on your own because it costs them a lot of money. I mean, bottom line. But I'm talking about type 2 diabetes, not type 1. But read Dr. Jason Fung's books. And you can read them very quickly and you can start fasting unless you've got some kind of serious problem, which you'll know about, I think, like type 1 diabetes. But read his books if there's any question about it. But hey, Cindy and Cynthia. Cindy Smith in West by God, Virginia. Let's see. Yeah, I wonder what's going to happen, Mike Morgan, to the MSM. I wonder how many are going to get shaked out here just in the next couple months. I mean, how many are going to be, we're going to be reading headlines about major media outlets that go bankrupt. It's probably going to be a significant number. Georgine Madigan Stoner. Hey, Mike and all. We're very nicely here in New Jersey. I hope everything's good. Yeah, the dinosaur media, Kevin Greenleaf says. Julie Cheney in Georgia. Georgia, great place. Zane Khan says, recently in December, I was in China. They are the most racist and selfish people on earth. When I say that, you know, especially to Americans who are so politically correct, they'll be like, you can't say that they're racist because that's racist. And I'm like, you just go on over to China and see for yourself and have a good time with that. And, you know, right? They don't even hide it, man. They'll put signs up. It'll be like no Africans. You know, I mean, it's pretty, they don't even hide it. It's very obvious. Oh, they don't hide it at all. But then they'll go over to the United States and start, oh, Americans are xenophobic, racist because they're cutting down flights from Hubei. After China cut down and basically quarantined an entire province of Hubei, what was it, 80 million people? I can't remember. But they're just letting them fly out to Los Angeles and New York and Italy and Spain and everywhere else, and here in Thailand, and letting them fly to Japan. That's okay. Pollute the world with your virus, but don't pollute China. That's the kind of people we're dealing with. They are, to use the word, evil. They're actually evil. And, you know, evil is a big, big, big word. And some people go, evil, oh, only psychos use that word. But there are some, like Hitler, that actually fade off into what I would call evil. And that would also be true of the Chinese Communist Party. They're actually evil. And they deserve to be destroyed. And I mean destroyed. In detail. But that's going to be up to the Chinese people, mostly. You know, if they start doing civil disobedience in China, which Chinese can do that. Chinese are pretty tough when they get their mindset to it. They're obedient to some point, and then they switch, and then they're the opposite. Likewise, Thais can be like that. Likewise, a lot of Americans can be like that. Obedient up to a point, up to the point where you hear that audible snap, and then it's like, uh-oh, that was the sound of them breaking out of their chain, and it's on. Cynthia Wood says, Pamela Green, I'm an intermittent faster. Read a short book called Delay, Don't Deny by Jen Stevens. Obesity Code by Dr. Jason Fung. And AC Appetite Correction by Bert Herring. Hello in Cincinnati, Jay and Joyce, wherever you're at. Mike in Illinois. Let's see. Let me shoot down. Charlotte Barron is saying the state of Iowa is open for business. Wow, a lot of farmers out there too, which might, you know, make a lot of sense for farmers, of course. Somebody asked earlier, what do I think about the shutdown versus just opening it back up? I mean, that's a question obviously on a huge amount of people's minds. I mean, the extremist train of thought is leave it wide open and let it burn right through. And people that want to guard themselves, then you self-contain. You can do it yourself. It's within most people's power to do it themselves. Not everybody. Some people will be caught up in it and won't be able to get out of it. But you can't make a decision based on that. This is war. And so, you know, like when your submarine or your ship gets hit, sometimes those, you know, ship captain have to seal off part of the ship with sailors in it, and they're going to drown, right? So, I mean, and that's the kind of level of war we're at here with this virus. You can't make a decision that's going to leave everybody in the open air. Some people are just going to die. It could be you or me, but big decisions have to be made. But if you can many people can quarantine themselves. Many people can do it quite effectively, or at least enough that it reduces their chance dramatically of getting infected, right? And the people that want to take a chance, let them take a chance. Like the young people that want to get out there and let it roll and want to go to spring break or whatever. Should they be allowed to do it, even though they'll be bringing it back to their grandparents and everybody else? What do you think? I mean, obviously, but what we don't know is if they're actually able to be reinfected. And there's a big question about that now. Can they be reinfected? Or if they can, this is too new. Nobody knows. Nobody knows the factors. If you knew they could not become reinfected, that might change your you might go, well, okay, just let it burn, and we're going to take a huge amount of casualties, but we'll get through this quickly, and then we'll get their economy restarted. Otherwise, we're dragging this bad boy out. Like you remember not long ago, the president was like, churches will be filled by Easter or something along those lines. And I was like, no, they won't. Or if they can, if they want to, they'll just kill their whole flocks or huge amounts of them. They can. And I was like, no, they won't. Clearly they won't. And now, and a lot of experts were saying that too. And then they're like, 30 days to save America. I'm like, it's not going to be that fast. I think that they're waving that carrot because they want people to have the strength to stay in for April, right? But that's not going to stop it. There's no way that's going to stop it. There is enough information now to realize that. That's not even enough to control it. There is enough information already to see that. And that requires some anthropological information too, like me, having lived all over the United States and been in the U.S. military and been out with U.S. troops in wars and stuff. I know enough about our various cultures in the U.S. that you're not going to lock down the United States. And it's not locked down anyway. It's just slowed down. And so what would you do if you were president? Well, first of all, the president doesn't have infinite power. Each individual does have power. There are constitutional rights. Can you actually be arrested for being out on the street? Well, I'm sure you can be arrested, but is it going to stand up in court? Actually, how many courts are even open? But later on, when courts are open, how many are going to, they're going to say, well, that was illegal. You didn't have a right to actually detain that person. This is a big question because, in that situation, you can say, but he did have a right. There was a pandemic. And then the counter will be, well, there's a pandemic all the time. There's a common flu. People die from that all the time. There's people that die from this, people that die from that. So we should be able to pull you off the street too. You see where that could go. And it's a very serious train of thought that needs to be thought out. At this point, given how it is playing out, that there is no real lockdown anyway, but we are destroying the economy, I'm starting to lean, well, I have been for a while, because you could hear me last week starting to say, I'm starting to think maybe we should just open it up and do what John Batchelor suggested to me, not during interview, but when we were offline chatting, that, the people that want to quarantine, like me, I'll quarantine up to a certain point. But the people that don't want to quarantine, go out there, go to work, and you might get it and you might die. But that was your choice, big boys and girls, right? And that's your choice. And others will go, what about the children? You're like, yeah, well, this is the world we live in. The world is not, this is not a nursery, right? So if some parent goes out and gets infected and bring it back to the child, there's not many children dying from this. Actually, how many have there been? Very, very few. But even if there were a lot of children, what's worse, taking that chance or your single mother or father or both being out of work and all the other things that come from that, which can be terrible. And there's a lot of kids right now that were probably heading off to a great university life ahead of them, and it's gone now. They won't be going to university now, which may not be bad for a lot of people. College loans will probably be a lot less, or a lot of schooling online, that sort of thing. So what would you do? Would you close it all down? That's one extreme, which you can't really do, and it's not being done. Or open it all up, just wide open, or something in between, which is what we're doing now, and it's not working. It's clear that it's destroying the economy. The economy is being destroyed. Every minute that it stays semi-closed down, it's completely destroying the economy. And it's not getting rid of the disease. It's not. It's just not. Yeah, we might, flatten the curve. And you know what? That really happens to the people that, it doesn't stop people. It just spreads out the disease for long. So what are you going to do? Then you open it back up. People are talking about, then we have to open it up very carefully. How are you going to open it up very carefully? You know what I mean? Test everybody for starters, right? Wear masks, all kinds of things, but it's still going to spread. What would you do? Would you open it all up if it was in your power? Because anybody can self-quarantine, right? In the United States. This is not China. The United States isn't China where they can take you at the, bayonet point and make you work at a factory for Apple or something. What about Apple products. What about their factories there? I wonder if everybody's there voluntarily in China. I don't know. I'm not casting any aspersions, but as a writer, it's something that I would really actually be interested in knowing about. Robin is saying, how long should the elderly stay in to stay safe? Nobody will know that until we all know it. But certainly, if you're elderly, I wouldn't go out right now, Robin. No way. And if you're going to, at least wear a very good mask. Don't go close to people. I mean, anywhere close. And stay, a short amount of time as possible. And I mean, some people have to go out for whatever, to get food or something. And it depends on what country you're at, where you're at in America. Some people can't just order food to their doorstep because they live out in the boondocks, right? I would stay in as much as possible if you're elderly, for sure. And if you do go out, certainly with a mask, preferably get people to help deliver any food or any other things that you need, if you can do that. Melanie's saying, might as well open back up. The only difference here is we can't sit down, eat at a restaurant. Kentucky and Indiana have deemed most businesses essential anyway. Yeah, I mean, at this point, how much is it going to be worse? We'll overfill the hospitals, and then a lot of people die that probably would not have died. Now, stretching it out and smoothing it out means there's more time to work on therapeutics, develop therapeutics that work. Does ivermectin work, or hydroxychloroquine? Does it work? I don't know. But it gives a chance to figure it out. And if it does, I mean, mass produce as much as possible and get it out there, or something else. So flattening it out and stretching it out gives more leeway to do those sorts of things. It depends. It depends on what's most important to you. And for different people, different things are going to be important. I mean, if you've got a bunch of kids and you got to feed them, and keep in mind, everywhere is not America, right? There's other countries that have, like in China, or countries that don't have a big social umbrella or, parachute, let's say, if you're out of work, there's no parachute, right? And for a lot of Americans, it's like that as well, a huge amount. What are you going to do if you got to feed your kids? Are you going to just stop working, stay at home, watch the kids hungry, start eating the neighbors? You know what I mean? What are you going to do? Eat the dog? I mean, it gets down to that. And this so-called stimulus package bullshit, where's the money for everybody that was supposed to be getting $1,200 checks? Where is it? I mean, at some point, you got to start calling it bullshit. And we're getting to that point. Short tempers, it doesn't matter to me. I'm not going to get the stimulus package anyway, but it matters to a lot of people. It matters to millions of people. Where's their money that was promised in order for all these other big people to get that huge amount of money? Just like so much money that most of us can't even imagine it. They just got it. But when it comes to, other people that have to pay their electric bill, where's your money? Vicky Eckert is saying, my friend said she could see a war if things don't turn around. I could see that. I could certainly see that. Certainly, at minimum, civil unrest. Yeah, they should have had Catherine get test and mass produced for the entire country. They should, obviously. And, they're working on it. And remember, all the problem sets that we face are not all internal to the United States. We got China out there, right? And they're on the prowl. They haven't rested, right? They could invade Taiwan whenever they want to, or Hong Kong. They can do a lot of things. And while our Navy is sick and our Army is, as it runs through our military, Marines and Air Force and Coast Guard, law enforcement, the drug cartels and everybody else are going to be like, hey, this is our chance. You know what I mean? There's a lot of opportunistic things that'll go on. I would caution the drug cartels if I were the president, though. I'd be like, you know what? I'm not in a good mood. And if we start catching a bunch of drugs coming over the border, we'll bomb you. We'll actually do an Air Force mission down there. We'll bomb you. We'll bomb all of your properties. We'll bomb you while you're asleep. We'll literally do a B-52 bombing in Mexico. You know what I'm saying? We won't play around. Just leave us alone is what. But being very careful, because Mexico is very important partners, and most of us really like me. I really like Mexicans. Great people, great family people too, and make good soldiers, fantastic soldiers. But the drug dealers are a plague on Mexico, and they're a plague on the United States and China with their fentanyl smuggling. We should just make it clear to the as the economy collapses in the United States, as it's doing now, a lot of people may turn to drugs. We know how this goes. This may be a time to take more direct action against drug cartels. And I mean military action. Make it tough for them to alligator for dinner. I can go get one in an hour if I were in Florida. Let's see. Snowing in Kennebunkport. Wow, that's up in Maine. Is snowing up there now? What is this? What month is this? April? Well, I guess so. It's April. Still kind of early in the year for you guys. All right. Rita Holland Moore. The stimulus money is supposed to start going out tomorrow to those who have direct deposit set up with IRS. Yeah. It's all okay. How many people have that? And how many of the poorest people have it, right? The people that really need it, how many of those have direct deposit with the IRS? Yeah. I mean, this is really serious. It could end up in civil unrest like that quick. As soon as people are hungry, they're going to flood out, and they're going to start, doing the riot thing. And what would you do if you had kids home hungry? And there's a lot of people that just want a flat screen TV. They'll just be like, instead of getting the Campbell's soup, they'll be out getting the flat screen TVs and the Nike shoes and all that. Yet Kit Moon says, Tony, Jason Fung, he's talking about fasting, says, do whatever you're comfortable with. 3 food, 1 fast day sounds good to me. Even 16 hours daily fast should be effective. Aim for slow, long-term progress. Yeah, that's right. That's what, because, to build a habit more than a goal, to instead of doing everything in one big run. But I like fasting for a long time too, because it has effects on your mind that are quite interesting, actually. And you enter different, doors in your mind that you're able to explore. Fasting is very good about that. Catherine says, I'm all up about rounding up the cartels. Me too, actually. I would give them a warning. I'd be like, look, if you're an illegal alien in the United States, now's a good time to leave or to report to your place of business. You know what I mean? And leave. But if you're coming up here to sell drugs into the United States and you're an illegal alien, you're an invader. We don't need you, don't want you, and we will take care of you in a very direct way. Let's see. Greg Owen says, I figure there'll be a lot of guns bought with the $1,200 too, probably. Joanne Wiggins says, I'm retired and I get it. I have direct deposit. Did you get your $1,200 yet? I'd like to hear if you've gotten it yet, and if not, when you get it, if you get it. Let's see. Robert Day is saying, Peace Air Force Base in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. It's empty. What a crock. Well, if anybody's got a good shortwave that they're not using, you can send it to me. I'll get on it. I've got a shortwave receiver coming in. I want to be able to pick up the news from around the world. But broadcast is important as well. But I'll be going back to the United States. And so when I get back to the United States, I can get it there as well. Because I'm more useful in the United States than I am in Thailand. Much, much more. At this time in history, I should be in the United States. Melanie says the monies are supposed to be deposited by the 17th. Let's see. And Joanne says doesn't have hers yet. Let's see. But remember, it's phasing out, Melanie. It's not or Heidi. I'm sorry. Wait a minute. That was Melanie that said that, right? Yeah, it was Melanie. Melanie, it's not. It's supposed to phase out. Yeah, I got to get back to America. Yeah. Yeah, send it to me so I can come back to the U.S. Let's see. Megan, nice. My stepdad used to have a world radio. I wish we still had it. You can get them on Amazon. They're not cheap. I mean, they are cheap. You can get just a receiver. You can get, I think, a good one for about $30 or $40. They're not expensive. You know, one of the things that's changed in our lives is in the old days, or even just when we were younger, it was not very long ago, our grandparents and parents, they used to repair a lot of stuff. Like there was a TV repair shop. There were radio repair shops, TV repair shops. They could repair your telephone. They could repair all kinds of stuff, your washer, your dryer. They could repair your car. But now a lot of cars you need very computer stuff or whatever. Or, if your phone breaks, a lot of people will just get another phone, right? Likewise with televisions, a lot of times the television kind of 10 years old, time to get a new TV, so it wasn't like that in the old days. They'll just be getting them repaired. Are you talking to me, Danielle Drummond? Are you making a documentary about all this? You mean me? I could. Actually, I just had made a trailer about doing a documentary for Hong Kong, and then this virus. I never showed it to you. I paid a lot of money and time, put a lot of time into it, and then the virus hit because I wanted to continue to help the Hong Kongers, and then the virus has done, something that. Well, there you go. You see what's happening. Jacob Crisp, visit Arizona when you get back stateside. My uncle and I would like to meet you. Maybe we can do some big meeting out at the crater. At the crater, you know what I mean? Get out there and spend a day and take a bunch of pictures. Kevin is saying, come back to the States, Mike. Get a Publix Grenda. What's a Grenda? I love Publix. People that grew up where I grew up in Florida, we actually have, it probably sounds weird to a lot of people, but we got actually some loyalty to Publix, a grocery store. It was the first job I had where you actually, like a job where you paid taxes and stuff, you know what I mean? It was Publix, and it was a good job. And if you worked hard, you made pretty good money for a 14-year-old, mostly because it was like tips, which is what I still live on, is tips, right? Tip me. I'm still living like that 14-year-old, living on tips. But the harder that you work, the more tips that you got. So I would work really hard, and they treated me very, very good. Publix, and they taught a lot of important things to a 14-year-old that are important for. You see a lot of 30-year-olds that should go to 14-year-old public bag boy school. The parts were so expensive for electronics, it's cheaper to buy a new one. Yeah. But in the old days, you just take your television to the repair shop, or the repairman would come to the house and fix it, right? Hey, in British Columbia, Dave. Crater, Pine Stop, Sholo area. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I tell you what. Let me see what Melanie says here. Got an email from USAA CEO Insurance that they will be refunding 20% of our premiums for 2 months. Why are they doing that? What's up? Why are they doing that? There's got to be something more to that. Is it a long letter where they do it? You know what I mean? Whenever they write long letters, just be careful. something be hidden in there. Hopefully it's a short letter like, hey, we're not able to do so-and-so, so we're going to give you some money back. But yeah. Robert Day says, Michael, don't leave too soon. Hong Kong will flare up again. Yeah, it will. They've kicked me out, obviously, on February 5th. But it's just a flight away, actually. And I was thinking also Taiwan, because Taiwan is another important fight against Chinese communists. And they are like Siamese twins or blood brothers and sisters with Hong Kong. Whereas Singapore, a lot of Singaporeans turned their backs on Hong Kongers and sided with China, which is very bad. Robert Day says, I'm laughing because I collect old radio consoles. Most of the ones made up in the 40s and 50s had shortwave band. Oh, I forgot about that. Hey, and those old TVs, if you don't know what you're doing and you open it up and you get in there, it's got that big capacitor to blow your fingernails off, right? I mean, it's like these things, you can be unplugged from the wall and still get smoked. Still got that capacitor in there. Larry Sommersdorfer says, portable KK9 full world band radio, FM shortwave and medium wave is $6. Wow. I wonder if it's any good. Yeah. Barbara says, come now. Maybe the price would be cheaper. I'm not going to come just yet. It wouldn't be. There's all kinds of reasons why I shouldn't come yet. But I will come, and it'll be this year. Let's see. Heidi Rosen says, Allstate is supposed to be doing that to giving our money back. I heard on TV they must be true. Yeah. Okay. Well, let me knock off for today. It's 4:55 in the morning, so it's almost 5 in the morning here in Chiang Mai, Thailand. Thank you, everybody, for the support. Have a happy plague. Continue to prepare for it because we're not anywhere near over. We're not even anywhere near the halfway point. We're like in the third round of a 20-round fight. You know what I mean? We got a long way to go. And so just keep your head up and find ways to prosper, because the economy is not going to go away. Even prisons have. I was talking with one of my old friends earlier. He used to be a corrections officer, prison guard. And, we were talking about that because I was like, we were saying there'll still be an economy. It's just going to be very different. And we just have to adjust to it, which we can do. And yeah, Robert Day says those capacitors are made of paper and wax. I remember that now that you say that. Mark Elliott says, thanks for the great info, Michael. Listening to you since early February after I got back shortly after coming home from Scotland. When you're wrong, what's right feels wrong. Let me see. When you're wrong, what's right feels wrong. All right. Good night, sir. And y'all stay healthy. And if you want to fast with me, I did just start fasting again. This is my first day of another fast. I don't know how long I'll go. But stick with me side by side. Go at least 24 hours. You can do that. I'll probably go considerably longer than that. The longest I've ever gone is 20 days. I don't know how long I'll go this time. I might go 2 days. Might go 1 day. I'll go longer than 1 day. That's right. Picture tube explode. I used to put magnets, or I did it before. I put magnet on the cathode ray tube because, the electrons have the negative charge. And I was like, wow, I was a little kid, loved physics. I was like, I bet this will bend the electrons. And it did. And it also I thought it destroyed the TV. Oh boy. Because it actually stuck. The magnet didn't stick. When I took it off, the picture wasn't right. I was like, uh-oh, my dad's going to see that. And then it actually went back to normal slowly. And I told a TV repairman that, and he was like, you put a magnet on the screen. You're lucky it didn't blow up. Taze at McDonald's says, what are the chances of people suing the CCP, Chinese Communist Party? Oh, very high. The people are already doing it. So, yeah, very high. Greg Owen says, I would try a fast, but I have a prime rib thawed for Easter. Actually, one reason that I delayed fasting was because I had a lot of fresh food and I was eating it first because I don't throw away food. Let's see. The only time I throw away food is like if I'm being chased by werewolves and I want them to eat the food and let me go. Or I just want to carry it because they're going to catch me. All right. Yeah, it messed up my TV. Well, it didn't last for long. Oh, Joanne. Well, if you can't fast, then don't do it. All right. Yeah, there is a. Oh, yeah. Actually, on American Thought Leaders, they're talking about a lawsuit there. I watched that and I published it. And actually, I got several messages tonight from Jan Jekielek. He's the interviewer on American Thought Leaders. He does a great job. Jan is great. I've been on his show, actually. I was on a show with Eric back in Hong Kong about 3 or 4 months ago, right? And it's a great show. I mean, he's got hugely serious people. More and more than him's been on there. Actually, I introduced him. And General Spaulding's on sometimes. Gordon Chang is often on. Just a star-studded group of people. I mean, serious people. I was quite honored when they asked me to come on. Let's see. Oh, man. Megan is saying Cook County has 600 inmates infected. Man almighty. Texas, 10,230 cases, 199 deaths. It's going to be a lot more soon. Yeah, we're still riding up. All right. There's some messages coming in. Let me see if there's anything important I should mention to you. No, other than I keep getting messages about ivermectin. I'm not recommending anybody take anything. I will say that I did order some ivermectin on Amazon and it's on the way, but I was just getting it just in case. And actually I got some pills here as well. And I'm not even going to take it. I was just getting it just in case that they find out that it's good with ivermectin. But I don't know. And it's super, super, super preliminary. I'm not recommending it. I'm just saying it's very cheap. It's like, why not? It's like the price of a dinner. You know what I mean? So it doesn't make sense not to. If it was like $4,000 for a dose, you might want to be a little slower. But since it's so cheap, it made sense to go ahead and get some. Vicky saying riot in Washington facility last night because of COVID-19. Remember, there was also riots in Italy, and I think Brazil and Colombia, and I think Iran. That's why Iran let loose about 70 some odd thousand or more, maybe more. I don't know. Who would know? Larry says a missionary in Colorado just sent him a 3M 7500 and N95 medical mask. He couldn't locate any. Good for you. That's you sent him one of these. These are really good. I like them. That's what I wear. That's my main battle mask right there. That's the one I actually wear when I go out. Except I wear it upside, not upside down. That's the one. That is my mask. I recommend it. Alrighty then. Melanie, I saw Gordon Chang speaking in a video about CCP virus being released by Wuhan lab. I've seen him talk about it many times. Every time I see Gordon on, I stop and listen to him. Or if I see something that he's written, I'll stop and read it. I have for years, actually. And then I mentioned last year I was in Hong Kong and he was like asking me, I was having dinner with him and, Matt Schlapp from CPAC and a few other really heavy hitters were there at this dinner and lunch and breakfast. We spent a lot of time together. And then Gordon asked me if I wanted to come on the John Batchelor show. And I was like, yeah, of course, man. I love John Batchelor show. I listen to it all the time, man. And in your work, Gordon Chang, I'm always listening to his work or reading it. He's great. All right. Time to go. Thank you for the support on Patreon, PayPal, Venmo. Hit it up because I am coming home too. And y'all have a very happy plague. See you soon. Mike out.